Let's go. It's open mic night. Love open mic night. I love hearing from 49er fans. I love hearing a difference of opinion. Hell, I love hearing the same opinion. I just love hearing y'all's opinion. And that's what tonight's about. It's giving the show and the platform back to you. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure you call in, get in early, and we're going to do it all. We're going to do it next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said in the intro, it is open mic night. The trick to doing this the right way is call in early. Get in, get out, get back to the chat, and enjoy your time. The longer you wait, the more it stacks up and the worse it gets. So the way that you do this, the way that you call in, is at the top of the chat. If you are watching on YouTube, there is a link. You click on the link, you follow the instructions, you put in your name, brings you backstage. Only I can see you. And then whenever I see fit, I bring you onto the show and we talk 49er football. So, Kieran, I'm going to get to you in just a second. But there's a couple things that I want to talk about. And the title of this show is The 49ers Are Up to Something. And I really do think that they're up to something. And I don't know if it's anything huge. I don't know if it's a Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know if it's being in possibly on a guy like Lamar Jackson. But the 49ers have multiple ways to free up money. And two of the ways that I talked about before free agency that they could free up money, they haven't done yet. Now, they've done a couple of the other ways, but they haven't restructured CMC. They have not extended Bosa. Right there, that's another $20 million or so that they can play with as soon as those things are done. So why are you saving this money? What's going on here? What's the money for? Because the 49ers traditionally don't carry over a ton of money. They have about $6 million in space right now. You add in that $20 million, that's around $26 million. You look at a rookie class, I got to imagine that's going to be anywhere between $8 and $11 million. They got money to play with. So who is that for? What are they waiting for? Is there a specific player? Are they waiting for injuries in camp before they go after somebody else and they'll see who's out there? What is the trick that's up their sleeve? I feel like the 49ers are up to something. So that's topic number one you can talk about. But again, you don't have to talk about that. And the other thing that I want to talk about, just real brief, is, and I understand this mindset because I have it a little bit too. I'm a little bit leery of this offensive line. They need a right tackle. They have to get a right tackle. What are they going to do in the draft to get a right tackle? You can't start McKivitz, which I think on the surface is a very, very true point to make. However, is it possible that everybody else outside of Trent Williams, who's already fantastic, improves a little bit? I mean, Burford was a first-year starter. Banks was a first-year starter. Brendel was a first-year starter. If all three of those guys step up just a little bit, the offensive line is actually better than what it was last year. And so I know on the surface the names are the same, but are the players the same? Going from year one of starting to year two, I mean, most players are going to make a significant leap, especially in the case of Burford, who was a rookie last year. His body, he's just going to get some of that man strength as he gets older, used to a full season. So I think all three of those guys can improve a little bit. And if they do, or even if two of them improve, that can make up for the glaring weakness that is over at right tackle. So I think on the surface, you look at the names, you say, all right, all we're doing is subtracting McGlinchey, we're adding in McKivitz, automatically worse. Maybe. But if those other three improve, you're better. So we'll see how they play it. Not quite sure. I'm going to get to Kieran, get his thoughts on whatever it is that he wants to talk about. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Can you hear
How you
me?
doing? Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. So good to finally get to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Been a long time fan. I know you in Tampa. I just moved to West Palm Beach from Jersey, so
Okay.
I'm kind of enjoying Florida also. So
You digging that weather, aren't you? It's so much better.
so much better than the East Coast, like my East Coast anyway. Jersey, it get cold.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
I'm concerned about the QB.
Okay, let's talk
I
about it.
really am because we had Garoppolo. He kind of fooled us with that winning streak when he first came to us. And I hope it's not going to be the same thing with Purdy. I see Purdy as an upgrade, but the sample size is still not enough for me.
Mm.
And I'm glad, I'm happy for what he did. I appreciate it and everything. But at the end of the day, our quarterbacks always get hurt. No matter what, it's always injury at the QB position. I
Yeah.
don't know who's to blame. Me, I'm a old school guy, so I think everything's starting the trenches. So we always getting defensive linemen. I really think it's time to kind of bolster the offensive line. I mean, there wasn't no right tackle out there that was really appealing to me that was that much better than McGlinchey. So I'm not sure what we do, and I'm really kind of concerned. I'm very, very concerned. I think people just think, oh, we got Trey coming back from injury, we got Purdy and Sam Darnold. Like, come on, man, really, Sam Darnold? Like, he hasn't shown me anything either. I mean, they talk about Trey with the 4 games, but Sam Darnold has been in the league for a few years now. He hasn't showed me anything also. So I don't know.
Aaron, I'm with you on this one. I was actually just talking about this with Grant, and I feel like 49er fans overrate the quarterback situation and how good it is right now. I don't think it's as good as we want to think. And you hear it come out when they talk about teams like Detroit and Seattle, because they always say the same thing, like, I'm not worried about those teams. Look at their quarterback. But I'm sitting here thinking, well, look at our quarterback. Like, first of all, we don't know who the quarterback is. Second of all, there's no guarantee that either one of these guys are going to be good or great. Yeah, Brock Purdy put together a 4-game stint, or, an 8-game stint or what have you. There were some, ups and downs, what have you, but he played well overall. And then you look at Trey Lance. I mean, yeah, you've seen some potential, but it's been spotty to say the least. So
Yeah.
either one of these guys, I think it's way too early to say that they are or aren't the guy. So maybe one of them or both of them could eventually be that guy, but they got to figure it out fast. They got to figure it out this year. And so if any off chance that neither of them are the guy, what the hell are the 49ers going to do? How are they going to win the Super Bowl if they don't have that guy at quarterback? I'm with you.
I don't know because, I'm a Trey guy. I want Trey to start. I think he should have started his rookie season, but, that wasn't up to us. So my thing is, both of the quarterbacks are coming off an injury. We don't know how Trey is going to progress. We don't know how Brock Purdy is going to progress.
Mm-hmm.
We really going to rely on Sam Darnold? I know that's Kyle's guy, quote unquote, but I just think we should have did a little bit better, man. I really do. And as far as the line goes, I mean, I like a couple guys that we got, but we need to draft the right tackle. I'm sorry. I just think we do. I still don't think we have enough beef on the O-line.
Yeah, but Kieran, you know as well as I do that if they draft a right tackle, so you're going to get him in the 3rd round.
He's going to sit a season.
And he's going to sit. I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan sits rookies for the most part. So, I mean, although he didn't with Burford, so maybe he has a lot of confidence in whoever this is. But I find it hard to believe that they're just going to get a immediate starting caliber right guard, right tackle in the 3rd round. I think that's tough. That's a tough way to go about it.
Yeah, I think we need to move up.
Yeah.
I definitely think we need to move up. I'm not really worried about the defense. I see what Wilkes is trying to do. I see the pieces coming together with the pieces that we lost.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fine with that. I know we're gonna probably draft like another safety, so I'm cool with that. Our offense should be a lot better. We got Kyle Shanahan, man. And like you know, you think Kyle Shanahan, you think an offensive guru, this and the third, but I'm still waiting for this offense to be like, okay, we snapping 30-some points per game at ease. You know, you would think that with Kyle at year 7, wouldn't you? Like, or am I bugging out?
Yeah, I mean they started to hit that, once Purdy got in and CMC was here, but it's like, man, it took 5 all pros to get there. That's all you're asking
And a
for a
seventh
lot.
rounder at that. It took a 7th-round quarterback for you to like get your offense together.
Right. Yeah, it took a lot. It definitely took a lot. Now they did start to hit their stride, no doubt about it. Although the defenses down the stretch weren't the best, but hey, either way, they were getting up over that 30 point. That was nice to see. It was definitely nice to see that.
I just think it's time for the offense to put in as much work as the defense have been doing all these years. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Offense has to catch up, in my opinion.
I feel it. Kieran, that was a good call, man. Call in any time. I got to get to the next one, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Somebody said the caller was negative. I don't think he was negative. I think he was being realistic. I mean, can we really look at the quarterback situation? Whether you're a Trey guy, a Purdy guy, I mean, I'm a Trey guy, but I can't say with certainty that Trey Lance is like gonna be the it guy. I mean, that's a little unfair to say. I think it's unfair to say that Purdy is too. It's way too early for all that. So I don't know. I don't think he was being negative. I just thought he was being realistic. I feel it though. We don't like to hear bad things about our team. I understand it. All right, here's the order. We're going to go Benji and Dad Gaming. We're going Spin. Then we're going Joseph. That's the order. All right, Benji and Dad Gaming. I'm sure you got a name. I think maybe out of this Benji and Dad Gaming thing, you're the dad. Maybe. Am I right? Okay, all right. We'll bring you on. I'm not calling you Dad, though. What's your name?
My name is Kevin.
All right, Kevin. What's up, man?
My son's trying to do a YouTube channel, so that's my name through all when I get on the YouTube because he.
I feel it. What's on your mind, man?
No, I just with the offensive line, because I feel like I guess I'm gonna give them like the benefit of the doubt only because I was really worried about the interior of the offensive line last year, and then with everybody talking about Banks from the year before. And they were like, stay calm. He could have played. We just didn't play him. And then they came on and I thought they performed well, the 3 starters. So if they say they got to plan the right tackle, I hope they do draft the right tackle. But I'm gonna wait till I see because I feel so far I feel like they do got a good pulse on the team. So I'm gonna see if their plan for right tackle works. Hopefully it works. Whatever plan they got for right tackle. And for the I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're not going to just like go into the season without a plan. I mean, you're right. Last year, I think a lot of people were worried. There's always players. This is one thing we can say for certainty about the 49ers. There's always players that are going to step up that didn't get a lot of playing time the year before. They're hitting their second year. And all of a sudden they break out. And they've got a lot of candidates, by the way, a lot of candidates on the offensive side or the defensive side that can fit that mold. So we'll see who breaks out. We'll see. I don't know if any of those guys are right tackles. So I don't know. We'll see where it comes from.
Yeah, I am worried about. I'm just really. I almost feel like I'm going out on blind faith because it's like I'm like you. I don't really see it. I'm just like, well, I'm just saying like, well, going on their past, they've been right so far. So let me just hope that they're right this time is kind of where I'm at right now. Well, for the quarterbacks, I want one of them to succeed. I don't care which one it is. Part of me would prefer Lance because of all the physical tools he has. So I feel like I agree that if they both hit their ceilings, like the offense would hit a higher level with Lance if he maxes himself out. So, but it's just I'm more of a sit and wait and see what happens. I want Lance to be good, but I haven't seen it yet. I want Purdy to be good. And I just don't understand how 49er fans who, like that previous call was saying, went through 2017, saw Jimmy come in, light the world on fire for 5 games, and then what he was after that, or just ready to crown Purdy after 8 games. Like we've seen this before just 5 years ago. Like
we have seen it before, and we can even remove the 49ers situation. It wasn't just the 5 games, actually. It was going to the Super Bowl in 2019. So we've seen it before, but let's look at who's the guy for the Eagles? Not Wentz, Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers that he went and won the Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP and all that, which was great. But go look at Nick Foles' second year in the league. 10 games started, 27 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions.
Yeah, with Chip.
I mean, Purdy put up some good numbers. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that he wasn't doing that. Then a couple years later, he goes and wins a Super Bowl. You think there weren't Eagles fans going, "What are we doing? He's the guy. Get Wentz out of here." I mean, of course they were. Yeah. Unfortunately for them, Wentz wasn't the guy. Neither was Foles. And maybe the 49ers are in a situation like that. But there have been quarterbacks that have come in and lit the league on fire and done things like Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy's unique from the standpoint that he was the last pick in the draft. And oh my gosh, great story. But let's not act like there haven't been players to do on the field in the NFL early what Brock Purdy did and then busted out of the league. So, there's no guarantee here.
Yeah, because I just think some of them just go and try, because I know it's a results-driven league, and so we're happy with wins. But even if you watch the game, and there were some throws that he had that, that could very easily have been intercepted, and maybe why they tilted those games. So that's why I'm just like, let's just calm down and let's see. I personally was like, what's the problem? I didn't like the process where it seemed like I don't know, it seemed like even Colin were just going to hand Purdy the starting role. I was like, no, you got 2 young quarterbacks. Let them battle for it. Let the best man win. And that's what I want.
I think a lot of us get that feeling, but I don't think there's any way to know that for sure. Like feeling, that pressure that was going to happen, I think is influenced a lot by the media. I think that's influenced, quite frankly, by content creators. And I think that's influenced by y'all, the fans. I think everybody had that feeling. And so we assumed that that's the way that it would have gone. I don't know if that was necessarily the case. Before the season ended, I said, unless they win a Super Bowl, you got to at least have a competition. And that's the way I felt they were going to go. But then as the season ended, you start hearing what everybody else is saying. Maybe I get swayed and whatever. Okay, the job's Purdy's and whatever, but I don't know if that was ever a guarantee. And we'll never know because Purdy's hurt. So
you're right, because that's exactly what happened with me. Because even while we were going through the winning streak, I was like, no matter what, there needs to be a competition next year. And I felt like, oh no, they're going to have a competition. But then listening to everybody else who's supposedly in the know, I was like, whoa, it really sounds like everybody's saying that there's not a competition here. Like they're just going to hand it to Purdy. And I was just like, but after 2017, we were 1-10. Jimmy goes on a 5-game winning streak. We hand him this rich contract, and then you were probably mad about it for the years afterwards, and realized maybe we shouldn't have done that. But you just handed to him off that 5-game sample. So it's like, why don't you just let him wait a little bit, let him compete, and see who the best quarterback is?
Yeah, for sure. I feel it. Hey, Kevin, thanks for calling in, man. I got to get to the next caller. I appreciate you. Call in anytime.
All right, thank you.
All right, man, later. Yeah, I wasn't going to call him dad. Hey, 187 Purdy has it. I don't disagree with that, by the way. I don't. I think that that's a very fair statement. And one thing that I said throughout the season was, as we got closer to the playoffs, one thing I'm not concerned about is the mentality of Brock Purdy. I know that he plays confident. I know he has the right mentality. I'm not at all worried about the mental makeup of Purdy. And if you want to say, hey, that's the it factor, I'm not going to say you're wrong. He may have the it mental factor, but that doesn't mean he's the it guy. Robert Horry had the it factor. That guy hit every game winner you could think of. But are you taking Robert Horry over LeBron James, who a lot of people don't say has it? I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, there's physical limitations there, and you can have it mentally all you want, but if you don't have it physically to get it done, there's only so much you can do. So, but I don't disagree with that he has it from a mental standpoint. Definitely think he has it. Brock Purdy's, he's a dog. Brock Purdy's a dog. Let's just say it. He's a dog. Mentally, I think he does have it. So, all right, we're going to go spin. Joseph, Niner Empire, what's up, man? It's been a while since I've talked to you. And then Gammon, let's go. What's
Hey,
up,
man.
Spin?
How's it going?
Good, man. Really good. How you been?
All right. That's better than being 0-3, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jose did Grant dirty there for sure.
That was funny as hell, man. I laughed. Anyways, a little bit better off this week than I was last time I was with you. I think we got some good free agents. We are still missing a right tackle, but I think we can either fulfill that in the draft or maybe trade up and get somebody in the draft, something to that effect. Or maybe mysteriously one of these guys will turn out to be a good right tackle. Maybe even Jason Poe or somebody like him. There's a lot of people that can't get under him as far as blocks are concerned. And that's a big thing in a right tackle. If you're not getting under that right tackle, you're not getting around him. So if that's the case, maybe he could handle that. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I think, like, to me, they got Feliciano, who started in this league. He started a lot of games in this league. He said his best position is center. He said his next best position is going to be right guard and then left guard. So is it possible that you got Feliciano, you drafted Burford, who played right guard last year, and he was a tackle in college, he was a tackle in high school? I mean, is it possible he's your right tackle?
That's true. That's true.
I think that's a possibility. So I think they got options. I do see some similarities to last year from the standpoint of, like, last year, here's what's different. Last year, they had a for sure game plan at left guard once Tomlinson left.
Yeah.
Right tackle, it doesn't seem like they have a for sure game plan. But one thing we did see in training camp, and I expect to see this training camp, is people shuffling on the offensive line to figure out what works best and what fits. And I think within 30 days of a training camp, they can figure out, like, what is going to be our best unit. So they have a lot of bodies. They have some up and coming talent. Who fits where and who earns a starting role? I think that's where it's going to be interesting. And I don't think, by the way, that it's even a lock that a guy like Brendel is the starter. If Feliciano's better and they think he's better at center, they're going to play Feliciano.
Yeah.
They could play him at right guard to start, but they could also start him at center. I think they're going to take the best player available at all those positions. And nobody is being paid like an absolute surefire starter on that offensive line from the middle to the right.
Well, let's hope they get somebody who's better than McFlinchy. There's just no way he's whoever. I know the Denver, I think, was the one that drafted him or took his free agency. And my God, man, hey, good luck with that. And then good luck with on the Raiders too. There's two teams that are not going to do very well. Simple as that. Because I think because of the powerhouse that we have, as far as the offense is concerned and the defense is concerned, somebody who's mediocre at best will shine here, and somebody who's pretty much lousy, like I thought McGlinchey was, there's no way. And then Garoppolo, oh my gosh. Like I say, I'll never forget the pirouette he did and threw the ball backwards in a game. I couldn't believe that. That was just, oh my goodness. So anyways, I'm hopeful for the season. I think we should, if we can, have have Purdy and Trey go against each other, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Purdy's going to be ready. I don't think he's even going to be ready for the first week of the season, let alone training camp and OTAs and etc. I think considering how long he had swelling in his arm, I screwed up a knee when I was young, and the swelling would not go down, and it took almost a year, and it was just not a torn meniscus, but I don't know, whatever, was not completely torn,
Yeah.
anyways, and it took forever to heal, just because I kept on playing. I kept on playing that day for like 2 hours, and I probably shouldn't have done that. And that is kind of what Purdy did in the game. He kept on going and going, and obviously he couldn't throw, and we saw that. But hey, let's just hope that. I think Purdy's got some really good uh, qualities as far as the
I agree.
quarterback is concerned.
Yep.
He looks all over the place. He can throw most of the passes, but my concern with Purdy is when he has to scramble, he goes backwards,
Mm.
and when Trey scramble, he scrambles usually up or to the sides,
Yeah.
and man, you can't have a quarterback go backwards. That's just not good.
I agree,
You're
Spin.
talking 15, 20-yard losses and stuff. No,
I
especially
agree.
not for the Niners.
I agree.
Anyways,
Spin. Good call, man.
all right. You have a great rest of your weekend and week. And hey, were you ever a Miami fan as far as basketball is concerned?
No, I've always been a Blazer fan. I grew up in Portland,
Okay.
Oregon, so
Yeah.
always been a Blazer fan.
Sorry
It's
to hear
rough.
that.
it's very rough over on this side of things, let me say.
All right, man. You have a good one.
All right, Spin. Have a good one. Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest concern with Purdy as well. I mean, he does have a lot of good things. I saw somebody talk about his footwork, his quick footwork. That's something that I talked about. That's something that Trey Lance will never have as far as that like elite initial burst. That's something that Purdy has. But bailing out in the pocket, man, for a guy that's as experienced as Purdy, playing 4 years of college ball, coming into the NFL to still bail backside, I mean, that's a death sentence for quarterbacks. It really is. That is like the one trait that is, if you can't overcome it, and I'm not saying he can't overcome it, by the way, that's not what I'm saying. But if he can't, and that continues to be what he does, where he doesn't step up, I mean, that's like that and piss poor decision making are two things you cannot have. And for now, he does retreat backwards. It's not great, but he has time to fix it. Joseph Mahoney, man, I love that hat.
You like it?
I like it. It's dope.
Yeah, man. I just good. I was looking for Niner hats, bro, and I wanted something in Trey, and I was like, man, I wonder if they have like some type of like special hat for him. And then sure enough, something. I guess these are like custom made, and they only cost like $20. And yeah, it just says TR5Y on it. It's it's pretty cool. I like it.
but I like that it's got like the old school,
the
like
old school
English
5
writing, but then
right,
it's
right.
all the letters are in red except for the 5s in white. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, I like it. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm great, man. This offseason has been a blessing, man. We got a good defensive tackle. We made another signing today, which low key I thought was kind of a cool signing, because if you remember, Farrell also played with the guy we got today, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I think the guy we got today also played on that same
Clemson.
defensive line as Farrell. Yeah, so I thought they have playing together, and they were really good when they were at Clemson. So I'm hoping that translates together as teammates here with the Niners. So that would be good. Also, you were talking about Nick Foles, the quarterback. Something you didn't mention when you were talking about him is he had 7 touchdowns in one game against the Oakland Raiders back in that what was that, his second year in the league. And if you remember, I remember that game because I remember watching it, and he got taken out of the fourth quarter, and the NFL record is I believe 7, and so he could have broke it with 8, and he sat out the whole quarter. But anyways, let's talk about the Niners though. Do you think we're gonna make any more big moves in free agency, or do you think That's pretty much going to be it.
Ah, man, I feel like they're up to something. I really do, because they have money that they can free up.
Right.
Easily, they have money that they can free up, and money they should free up. Extending Bosa is going to give you about $12 million. If you restructure CMC, which I'm shocked that hasn't happened yet, the way his contract is structured, I felt like that was a guarantee.
Right.
And that's going to be another $8 million. You have $6 million in the bank already. It's a lot of money to play with in free agency. Especially, somebody had made the comment saying that man, I feel like these certain positions have been cheap in free agency. Man, I feel like every player that is signed, I'm like, God, they got way less than what I expected. I feel like that across the board. So, yeah, I definitely think that there's something big that they can do. Now, will they do it? I don't know, but it's at their disposal. And there's guys out there. I mean, Yannick Ngakoue, I think a lot of people have talked about.
I would love to get
Justin
him.
Houston, Robert Quinn, some of these older guys. You can go after both those guys. They could trade for Lamar. I know that would be a pipe dream, but possible. So,
Would you be okay
there's
with
a
that?
lot. There's a lot out there
like-
they can do.
Would you like Lamar, the Niners?
I would love to have Lamar. Joseph, the problem that I see with the 49ers is there's just no guarantee at the quarterback position right now.
Right.
There just isn't. And Lamar's that guarantee. And once you have the quarterback position figured out, it's much easier to build out. And if you look at Lamar, it's a little bit different than Bosa. People are like, well, you can give Bosa 30 million, 35 million, whatever.
Right.
And if you give Lamar 50, that's a death sentence. How are you going to afford everybody else? There's actually a really easy way. Cleveland just did it with Deshaun Watson. When you have a quarterback that you expect to be the guy for the next 10 years and you sign him to a 5-year deal, you can comfortably 3 years in a row restructure that guy and save a crap ton of money. Cleveland just saved like $36 million by restructuring Watson.
Right.
Now, what it does is it adds money to the end of a contract. But listen, if you're on a 5-year deal and I expect you to be here for 10, I'm not worried about that in 6 years. You're going to be the guy anyways.
Patrick
that is
Mahomes
an underrated thing.
Patrick Mahomes does the same thing. He restructures every year on that whatever the $500 million contract that he got after he beat us. Unfortunately, I think.
Yeah,
dude, a friend once told me, he's like, yeah, dude, like he doesn't get all that money. He restructures every year. Yeah, the numbers look astronomical, but when you start restructuring that year after year after year after year, dude, like you start saving hella money, like you just said.
Yeah, it happens. So, and that's something that you might be able to do with a Bosa like once or twice, but if you can do it 4 or 5 times with Lamar, dude, that's winning right there. So, I think that's just an underrated thing that a lot of people don't look at when you have a quarterback that is getting a lot of guaranteed money is you can free up money very quickly each and every year for quite a few years and do it comfortably. So, I don't know. I mean, they can keep a majority of this team together. Certainly, they're going to have to give up something in a trade for Lamar, something big. But outside of that, the rest of this team can stick together for a while, even with Lamar getting paid all that money. They really can.
Right. What do you think of my boy Danny Gray? You think he's going to get some shine this year, or do you think that he's just going to be kind of hit and miss with the Niners? Because I think that with that speed, man, and even if Trey's in there, I think he definitely gets a lot more time than he got last year. But even like if you just look at the end of the season, right, like the Raider game and the Cardinal game, like what I noticed was like he was in there a lot more, and he was taking 2 defenders with him, and all of a sudden Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk was butt naked wide open because they were so worried about Danny Gray's speed that you did like a deep curl 25, 30 yards down the field, and Brandon Ayuk is just standing on the logo wide open and there's not a defender in sight. Like just the simple fact that he's on the field is going to free up so much space in the middle of the field. Like it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. I think the biggest issue for him last year is
blocking.
First, blocking. That I mean, that's 100% it. It's blocking. He was not a willing blocker. He was not a good blocker. Right. Rookie wide receivers, outside of the guys that just come in and light it up like a Jefferson, Chase, those types of guys, Randy Moss. Right. There are those unicorns, but usually a receiver is one of those positions that it takes a year to kind of get going. Right. And I don't expect personally that Jennings is going to be here past this year. I think Jennings is a 1 more year play. Right. They're either going to replace him through somebody in this draft. Danny Gray might be that guy. So I think Danny Gray's going to have a shot, and I think he's going to see the field. And especially if Trey is playing, it makes a lot of sense that somebody like
sense.
Danny Gray is all of a sudden on the field. Yeah, definitely.
Right. And then what do you think of all the picks that we have? Do you think that they, maybe package something together, trade up in the draft and get something big as maybe like a second round tackle or, whatever they deem that they need. But I just don't see them having all those third round picks, comp picks, and having a big hole on that right side of the offensive line and not at least trying to make an effort to move up. Now, a guy that I personally like is, I don't know how to pronounce his name, DeJuan Jones, I think, from Ohio State. He's 6'8", like 360 pounds. Like, he's a load, man. And if, I don't know if you would compare him to Trent Brown or Orlando Brown, but he's kind of the same mold, just a big dude that you're not going to move. And the thing with him is he actually can get out and move a little bit, which is for his weight, for his size, he's really athletic for getting out in space and getting out for those, tosses to the outside and runs to the outside of that and screens and stuff like that. He could definitely do that. But what I'm more interested in is I really don't care. I would rather have a guy, because the Shanahan philosophy, it's can you get out in space and you anchor down in the run game. But it's crazy because you have you get guys that are lesser in pass protection but stronger in run game, right? And then all of a sudden, you look at the season and all your quarterbacks got killed. They all got hurt, and part of that is due because they can't protect the quarterback. So I'm just saying, if it was up to me, bro, I'm just saying, I would much rather take a hit in having a guy that could run block if that means that if you could guarantee me that you could keep my quarterback on its feet, regardless who it is, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, or whoever. I would rather have a guy that could just flat out just protect the quarterback.
I'm with it, man. I'm with it. Hey, I'm going to answer that question, but before I get you out of here, do you mind if I bring you on? People are asking to see your hat.
No, I don't mind, bro. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's clean. That's clean. Where did you get it at? Can you Google or
dude? I'll literally you could just Google Trey Lance hat. At least that's all I did, and it's just literally under the shopping, and it should pop up. That's literally all. That's literally all I did. Trey Lance. Literally all I Googled was Trey Lance hat. That's really all I Googled, and it's one of the first.
Hat. I'm not gonna lie, it's hella clean. Hey man, thanks for calling in, bro. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right, brother. Hey, thank you, Jesse.
Later.
Thank you. Shout out to you, bro.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, I mean, to answer his question, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to trade up. Last year, I thought they were going to trade up. They had a ton of picks last year. They didn't do any. I mean, they just stood pat and drafted all the guys. So I think the logical thought is that they'll move up, but I don't think there's any guarantee. Moa family asks, yo, who do you guys have? Davis versus Garcia. Man, it's a great fight. Davis versus Garcia. That's a must-watch fight, boxing fan or not. I think my money would have to be on Davis, but you can't sleep on Garcia, man. He's slick too. It's going to be a great fight. I can't wait for that one. And then I heard that Haney is fighting Lomo, and then the winners are going to fight each other. These are fights that boxing is needed for a long, long time. So I'm excited for this one. What's up, Niner Empire?
What's going on?
It's been a long time since I talked to you, man.
It's a couple of months.
It's been a minute. How you been?
I mean, it's been good. I catch you on Twitter Space when I can, but
for sure. I see you in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Kids. Got a 1-year-old, 5-year-old. It's tough out here.
I get it, man. Yeah. I totally get it. So what's on your mind?
Well, I mean, I'm okay with the whole Hargrave pickup. You're making up for the mistake that you made when you gave up DeForest Buckner and you went with Kinlaw when you could have went after Tristan Wirth. If Kinlaw would have panned out, it would have been a perfect pick, but he didn't pan out. He had a deteriorated knee coming into the league. So the fact that we traded with the Bucks to let them get Tristan Wirth didn't make sense when you knew you had questions about McGlinchey at that time. So it's a lot of we're making up for what we did prior, which is cool. But I just feel bad for DeForest because he's really mad about it. Like, he's still salty about it. Like, he wanted to stay a Niner. I preach it every time I get on this show. Doing it the 49er way. Doing it the 49er way is what DeForest Buckner did. Never got in trouble, was healthy, was a leader on the defense, commanded double team, fought through a double team, one of the only D linemen to sack Kyler Murray of our D line at that time. He was a leader. Like, he remind you of Brian Young. Like, that's what you want on that D line. Like, Eric Armstead, he was an injury prone D lineman, and he only had one good year. But look at the people that were surrounding him in that year we went to the Super Bowl. So that's why I was a little against getting rid of DeForest Buckner. So making up for that now is good. I mean, you constantly signing, more depth in D line. That's cool. That's what we do. Like, it's a trend. We always getting D linemen. We're looking for that D lineman. That D line, like, we got Nick Bosa now. We got to get help for Nick Bosa. Samson Ebicon didn't do bad, but he wasn't what everybody thought he could have been. I mean, coming from the Rams, but it's cool. The guy we got from the Texans, he didn't do bad, but I'm like a lot of the callers. I need to solidify that right side of the line. Like, I need you to make a big move and getting that right side of the line sealed. If you're gonna package a 3rd round pick and Kinlaw to trade up in the 2nd round and get an offensive lineman, do it. But like the other guy said to the 3 callers before, we get linemen and we let them sit. Like, no, you need to go get an impact lineman. This is your time. You got enough draft picks. You have enough people, bruh. Switch it up this time. Trade up in the 2nd round. Go get a lineman. Go get a lineman that you can start off day one, that he can solidify that right side. Because you didn't get a veteran, so you got to do something. Because it's not – our quarterbacks keep going down at the wrong time. Like, it's getting to a point now. Yes, Brock Purdy was a good quarterback. He performed better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but same arm density. The arm density didn't change. Like, where did it change? Like, the first throw that he threw to Ayuk had to slow down to get it. That was the red flag right there. Boom. So he can't throw it that deep, but he can get it there. But I like the dog in him. Like, you got to give him credit for it. Like, you got to give him credit for having dog in him, taking command of the offense. What we wanted to see Jimmy do, but we saw it, but we didn't. It was like
he's the antithesis of Jimmy G from a mentality standpoint, man. Polar opposites.
Exactly. So, like, I mean, I like Brock Purdy, but I'm a Trey guy. Yeah. I think Trey was getting better when he played in that Texans game. He showed the progression. You talked about it. Grant talked about it. So many people talked about his progression. He got into this year, and it was just, well, we still got Jimmy right there. I always go back to the first year we drafted him. We should have went with Trey, traded Jimmy to the Patriots for the 2nd round pick. He would have been we would have knew what we had. Look at Jalen Hurts. 3 years, look what he did. Took him to the Super Bowl. He didn't win, but in MVP contention. Like, we haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback since Jeff Garcia? Like,
I mean, but even if he does, at least you would know by now, right?
Yes, like, we don't know. We're still like we're in question. Like, well, is he that guy? Like, so many people see the progression and they believe in it, but you have so many Jimmy fans that have hopped on Brock Purdy because winning solves everything. He won, so he did the same thing Jimmy did when he first got here. 5 games, everybody's like, "Oh, we got our quarterback." No, we don't. Franchise tag him. Let's see what he do in a whole year. No, we paid him. Look what happened. Got hurt, came back. 2019, everybody was the whole, well, he just wins. Well, let's see how he does with the Oakland Raiders. You don't have Kyle disguising your flaws in certain things. Like, it's a difference. I think if we really rally behind Trey Lance, we can really have a good chance, and he can develop. Give him a chance, and give Brock Purdy a chance to get healthy. Don't rush him back. Let him get healthy. You got Trey right there. He'll be healthy. Let him go. Now Sam Darnold, whew, man, he sees ghosts. I don't care what nobody say. I have no any type of belief in a person that sat on national TV and Monday Night Football and said, I see ghosts when he got sacked.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was worse than the butt fumble. That was worse than the butt fumble. I see ghosts. Really?
That was bad.
But
I
mean, it's the question I have is, what are we doing to solidify that right side of the line? That's my issue. Like depth in D line, I get that. We always doing that. We lost a few key people like Emmanuel Mosley. That was a bad loss. I mean, we drafted him. Like when he was healthy, he was there. He performed. He shut his side down in certain games. He was a good corner. To let him go for the price that they did, we could have paid him that. We could have kept him. Like, it is. I still preach it because I'm from the Eddie DeBall era. Gotta do it the 49er way. Gotta start doing it the 49er way. Every Super Bowl caliber team that the 49ers have ever had, we had a solid line, offensive line. Our offensive line was solid. We have not had a solid offensive line since 2013 Super Bowl.
And the quarterback was the difference maker too. You know, the quarterback was a difference maker. You know, Kaepernick isn't going to go down in the Hall of Fame, but man, for those couple of years, he was lightning in a bottle. You know, he was a difference maker for us. We had quarterbacks when we made it to Super Bowls prior, outside of that Jimmy G game, that like would go win you games. And when we won Super Bowls, we had Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks. So yeah, man, I mean, that's where it starts. We don't know what we've got yet. We got to figure that out. I appreciate you calling in, man. It was good to hear from you. I got a few more people waiting, so I'm going to get to them, all right?
Oh yeah, I'm going to hit you up on Twitter because I wanted to send you a Niner Empire DMV jacket and hat.
Hey, send it through. I'll definitely rock it. I appreciate that, man.
Okay. All right, Jesse. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, man. Good talking to you. Been a while, man. He runs the chapter out of DC. A real cool guy, man. Real cool guy. Good heart, good soul. Love talking to him. It's been a long time, though. It's been a long time. I mean, Twitter Spaces, but it's been a long time on here. Karen says, Jesse, what player do you want us to get no matter the price? I mean, like realistic player? Are we talking about in the draft? That's a loaded question. If it's in the draft, I don't really have like a guy that they need to go get. If it's just like any player in the NFL, then it's going to be a quarterback. It'd be somebody like Josh Allen. Realistically, like a guy that's out there to be had. I mean, Lamar fits that mold. So I don't know. It depends on what you're asking. But there's a couple different ways I can go. Jag says, do the 49ers use all their picks or move up for a defensive end? Oh, offensive tackle or DB? I don't know, man. Somebody was just asking that question. I don't know. I mean, last year I thought they were going to move up too. They had a lot of picks and they didn't do anything. They just picked. So we'll see. I mean, the player has to be there. It has to be somebody they love to move up. So hopefully it's not a running back. Fish and Chip says, what QB will be drafted, Jess? It will happen. Who? For the 49ers, I don't know. I do agree, though. I think they're going to draft somebody. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be super late. I think there's a lot of those answers. And I honestly haven't scouted any of the later round guys. The only reason I scouted the top 4 guys was for the second channel. I wanted to have a good idea of who I thought should go number 1. So I was putting together a Panther video. So about 6 hours of film watching went into that to figure out who I thought they would take. So, but I don't know about the other kids, but I do know that there's a lot of them. Taryn, what's up, man? He says, I don't think we'll truly see the potential of Trey unless Kyle gives him the Purdy Jimmy play calling. Yeah, I agree. That was an interesting thing. I know people are like, ooh, what do you mean by that? I mean, you got to run him. Not saying not to run him, but the reason that you didn't draft Justin Fields or even give him a sniff is because you wanted your quarterback to play a certain way. You wanted him to play under center. You wanted him to call his own audibles and protections and know that he can have a verbose playbook and spit that out in a huddle looking at 10 other teammates. That's why you drafted Trey Lance. Otherwise, you would have just drafted Justin Fields. That would have been the right pick for that offense. So you do everything, every reason that you drafted Trey Lance, you scrap. All the things that he showed he was good at in college, all the things he showed he was comfortable with, which were also the reasons you drafted him. You're like, we're going to go pistol and we're going to run you up the gut. I mean, Trey Lance is a scrambler, yes, but he's not a running quarterback like that. At least put him under center on a regular basis. Let him turn his back to the defense. Go play action. That's what he likes to do. Mike says, is there any quarterbacks at FCS that you've looked at? No, I haven't looked at any. Outside of the top 4, Mike, I haven't looked at any of them. Not deep. Like, I've looked at them, but that's like I watch a highlight film on YouTube. I'm never going to give you my opinion on a player by watching a highlight film. Everybody can look good in a highlight film. The only 4 that I've watched actual all 22 film on in multiple games of were the top 4 quarterbacks in this draft. Let me tell you, I don't think Will Levis is very good, but we'll see. Gammon, what's up, man? I'm going to bring you in. What's up,
how's
Gammon?
it going, bro? Man,
Good,
I'm
good.
just living life, rocking this. Nobody can see it right now, but this Predators jersey right here for the Nashville Predators.
Hold on, before you go, I was going to go to Mike. He was waiting. So if he can come back in, I don't know if he fell out, and then I was going to go to
Sure.
Tapia. So that was the order. All right, Mike, go ahead, Gammon. Your floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I just want to give a shout out to Jason Hurley, the salary cap guru right now at 49ers.com. He's listening right now, so I appreciate him taking me under his wing as far as his tutelage. So I'm just going to go ahead and try and make Daddy proud right now.
Jason's a nice guy too, man. He's got his salary cap thing down. He definitely knows the ins and outs. And Jason, if you are listening, I'd be curious to see. I mean, am I talking out of turn? But the way that I see it, if you restructure CMC, you re-sign Bosa, you're freeing up roughly $20 million or so. So, I mean, that's a lot of money to play with. He would know more than anybody, but that's the way that I understand it. So if he's around, he can definitely answer that question.
Yeah, Mr. Hurley, king of the offseason, if you could come in and
there he is right there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, if you came in right now, I would freely give up my spot because nobody knows the bankroll better than you do, except for maybe the actual accountants over there on the.
Let me repost it for Mike. I know Mike was in and he lost the link. You go ahead and go though, man. You got your time. You go ahead and talk. I'm gonna find the link and I'll repost it for a couple of these guys.
Okay. So number one of the first things I'm going to say is that somebody mentioned that having Poe as a tackle, Poe is a guard. The way that this offense is set up, right? When we're talking about an outside zone, you need if you look at the stature of guards, right, dating back to Bob McKintrick, the greatest offensive line coach that they really say in like history, who was with the 49ers back when Bill Walsh was coaching. If you look at the stature of tackles, right, you always have these really tall bookend tackles, but that's because their ability to cut block and change, right, the trajectory of the defensive, either linebackers, safeties, whoever, when they're wrapping out, kind of getting out there in order to get after them. The reason why I say Poe is more so of a guard than a tackle is he has that linear ability to really kick out, right, that explosive athletic ability to really kick out and get out there. And if anybody remembers, maybe about 3 to 5 months ago, I was posing this question to Jesse, and I said, hey, Jesse, should we just have just an asinine athletic left side of the field where we have Poe and then we have Trent Williams on that left side? Because athletically, you could run whatever that you want to run. And McGlinchey is a big loss. People are going like, we need to re-solidify this line. Well, where was everybody saying that when we were bashing McGlinchey? And what's interesting is when you look at the PFF numbers, right, our most explosive, like the most 10-yard plus runs that we had actually came from McGlinchey's side. And that's the thing that I think that a lot of people are losing. And I want to go into the Sam Darnold. Before I can even get to the points that I want to make, there were some comments that I heard. people are talking about Sam Darnold and how he was seeing ghosts. Okay, well, let's remember that the coaching staff that Sam Darnold had there on the Jets. It wasn't definitely who
It was bad.
is on the Jets. It was deplorable, right? And also, too, when he was seeing ghosts, he was going up against Bill Belichick. Another point that I want to remind people about is that Bill Belichick was the defensive coordinator with the Giants back then when the Giants were giving the 49ers and Bill Walsh the business. When they were a dynasty, the Giants were giving us everything that we could handle back then. And who was the defensive coordinator? It was Bill Belichick. So I would expect if you have a lack in coaching, and then shame on that coaching staff for not having that quarterback more or better prepared to not see those ghosts, to have him ready for that. And that just really goes into all those things. But anyways, I digress. I really want to get into some of these points. I really want to highlight Taron Lewis's comment. I keep a I've mentioned this a few times. I'll probably mention this like once every 3 months, but I keep a basically like kind of like a book of commenters or people like fans who frequent a lot of like 49ers like sites, right? And on one side I have the smiley face, and the other side I have the frowny face. Taron Lewis, you know, I haven't seen him in a little bit, but he is somebody who always says something really great, or he just states the obvious. And that's kind of some of the notes that I have on him. But at 9:49 p.m., he said, CMC is just getting started with the 49ers. And I think that's an excellent statement, because he came in with, how many hours did he have, Jesse, before he came in and then was...
That was an interesting deal. Yeah.
And if you get some of the playbooks, they are out there online. They're kind of hard to get a hold of, but I had somebody send them to me, and I had them shared to me through Google. But your running backs are responsible for a lot of like pass blocking too. So the amount that he was in there and the amount of plays that he ran, Jesse, that first game was more than what we anticipated that he would actually end up running. So I just thought, Taron Lewis, that was a very underrated comment. Another thing too, Jason Hurley, I would love for you to, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but I want to preposition or prop this question up for you and Jesse to talk about. But if you could, Jason Hurley, if you do grace us and you do come on here and talk about it, everyone's talking about wanting to solidify the right side of the line, that we don't have this right tackle or anything like that. I think that Poe could actually come in and solidify that right guard position, especially when you have probably arguably the best, greatest left tackle in the league, and Trent Williams pining for your talent to be out there, right? Like Trent Williams was really pining for this guy to come out there. I think Poe could solidify that right guard position. But speaking of Trent Williams, there's a lot of speculation about two players, whether they'll be back here next year. One is George Kittle, and then the other is Trent Williams. There's been talks about Trent Williams not being here. And Hurley, I'm not going to go through it, but I would love for you to bring up the cap savings about the pre-June, post-June 1st, right? If he were to retire, and then where does that really leave us? And also to those numbers, we're talking about 2023, 2024 are, you know, to be blunt, are pretty damning. I've kind of ran out of time. I'm actually really kind of interested to hear what Hurley has to say about some of those things. But for all the talk that we're talking about, who we should get on the edge, who we should get at right tackle, what is the plan going forward? I bemoaned the Rams organization and the 49ers organization before the year started last year, that I said that both organizations did not do enough on the offensive line to protect their quarterbacks. And now we're staring this again in the face, just like we were last season. And then when we were through training camp and we were hearing that our offensive line was getting demolished and destroyed, we got lip service from the 49ers front office, pandering or talking down to us fans that we didn't know enough or have enough insight from the ridiculous amount of coverage that we have from the content creators and so forth. And we haven't been able to keep a single quarterback healthy. Not even Josh Johnson, for crying out loud. So that is and you know what's funny is that both the egotisticalness of both these front offices are they're rolling out again in the same manner. I don't care if you trade it for a second round right tackle. I don't think they're going to be prepared or have seen enough to protect all these quarterbacks that we have in tow. They just haven't seen enough line shifts, stunts, everything that these guys can throw at you. That these books are so much more complex than what we're thinking. It's not that simple. And I really want to kind of leave at that. But I find that fascinating that we're heading into that same position and that well is shorter and these guys are playing for so much more. And we want to throw in Purdy week 1, who may not even fully healed, behind an even weaker offensive line. Thank you for your time.
All right, Gavin. Good call, man. Yeah, I mean, offensive line worked out last year, but it was still like kind of mid. You know, it wasn't incredible. And so if it wasn't incredible last year, what happens this year? I mean, on paper, it does look worse, but like I talked about, Brindell, Burford, Banks, the triple Bs, they take a step forward, which I think is realistic to say, then, you know, the offensive line gets a little bit better. So, all right, Tappy, I'm coming to you in a second. Twisted Clown says, Kyle, Trey, this time run through the linebackers. Yeah, fair enough, man. Fair enough. Roman says, Buckner is looking to be traded to a contender. Yeah, I heard about that, but I mean, I don't think we're that team anymore, unfortunately. Mike says, imagine putting Trent at fullback and Poet running back on a goal line TD. That'd be wild. Oh, we got a Falcons fan in here. He says, you're better off without Kyle. You know, I kind of wondered what Falcons fans thought of Kyle Shanahan. Oh, man, you didn't even have to pay. I already got you. Same comment, though. Appreciate you. All right, we're going to go to Tapia, Michael, Ryan, a.k.a. No Crypto, Bashaka, and then Niners Sickness. Let's go.
Yo, what's up,
man?
Jesse? Yeah, you can hear me?
I got you.
All right, there we go. Nah, man, I just want to come up on here and say thank you because, man, I love your content. And I love watching you and Grant. Man, you guys, greatest duo out there. And yeah, I just want to talk a little bit regarding the draft. I love draft time. It's probably one of my favorite time of the year. But you know what kind of ruins it is Kyle not playing rookies.
For
and
sure.
it just
yeah.
it I don't know. I'm so excited when it comes to draft time, and then we don't get to see them. You know, it's hard. It's hard because it's frustrating. I get draft crushes and then they don't play, and also, yeah, I think they've discussed people around discussed that Burford going to right tackle. Not sure if I'm a big fan of because he already played his rookie year at right guard. You know, I think he should still continue there. And I think the Niners should trade up. I don't know if they're going to. They should trade up to get a right tackle. I think that's a priority. And I like your idea of restructuring CMC to get, how much would you said we freed up? 20 million, you say?
Well, CMC, I believe, would be around 8. And then once you extend both, so that'd give you another 12. So you're looking at about 20 total, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Doing those two now would be perfect because you know who I want. I want Yannick Ngakoue. You know, he's had 8 sacks every season for the past 5 years, or I don't know what the stat is, but he's only 27, and getting him on the other opposite side of Bosa would be, you know, I think it's game over. It's game over.
Yeah,
so yeah,
I think so too. I mean, Yannick he would be a huge get. It's kind of surprising that he's out there. So does that mean he's looking at this point? Usually when players that are kind of top of the market guys, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's a really good example of this.
Right.
When they stick around longer than the first couple of days, usually they end up taking a one year prove it deal because they want to prove that they can do it, and then they want to go get paid. So can you go get Yannick on that 1 year deal? Is he the prove it deal guy? I mean,
he's proved it the past. his career, kind of. You know, it's I don't know. I mean, I haven't really watched. I don't watch him play, but his stats are there. You know, it's like it'd be.
So it's actually really funny because there's a lot of spam that comes in these chats. This is actually really, and I low key almost blocked you, Twisted Clown. I'm glad that I read that through. Yeah. That was good, but it almost got you blocked from the channel unintentionally. My bad.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, yeah, that's all I gotta say, man. I'm from Napa, California, 40 minutes away from where Grand Cone is, Oakland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up north of Bay Area, so I'm only 19 years old, just calling in.
Are you going to be at training camp at all this year?
Yeah, I went last year like 4-5 times, and I caught that Ayuk fight with Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Well,
yeah,
I'm going to be at training camp this year, so if you see me, come say hi, man.
Yeah, last time I got to meet Grant Cohn at training camp, I was so excited because, you know, I've been a Grant Cohn fan since he started YouTube, and then ever since he started making shows with you, man, I've been a big fan of you too.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I would love to see you at training camp, man. Call in anytime, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Great call. That was a good call. That was a really good call. I actually, we kind of ran out of time there, but I would like to know, because he is into the draft. I used to get big into the draft too, but then it's like, man, they don't take the guys that you like, even when they're there, and you're like, what are you doing? I love that guy, and they don't take him, or they do, and then they don't play him, like he was saying. But I'm curious to see like what's like one or two draft crushes that he has right now. I'm curious to see who those guys are. So maybe next week when you call in, we're getting closer to the draft, man. It'd be nice to hear some of your guys' draft crushes as this thing gets a little bit closer. For sure. This comment's hilarious, though. This comment's hilarious. All right, we're going to go Michael. We're going to go Ryan. We're going to go Bashaka. And then Niner Sickness. Let's get it. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Jesse. How you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good. Hey, I love your show, man. Glad to be on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Couple Brock items, and then if I don't run out of time, I got one thought on Lamar.
Okay, let's do it.
Just to start off, I'll admit that I'm a big-time bias towards Brock Purdy. I've known the guy and his family since he was about 7 years old.
Okay.
And, but, you know, the first thing on Brock is one thing I would say that I don't hear a lot of people talking about is, you know, people say wins aren't everything, but he really hasn't lost yet. And if he's healthy, why wouldn't you keep playing him until he shows that he's everything people keep saying he is, you know, from a negative perspective? And I think he's going to be healthy, and I think he's going to be fine. So that was the first thing. I don't know if you have any reaction or comment to that.
Yeah, I mean, I really do understand that mentality, man. And a lot of people have it twisted with me too, because now I'm like, all right, you know, and the 49ers do this. The 49ers put us in this situation where it's like, I know that we like all the players, but you do kind of have to choose. Like, who would you roll with if push come to shove, which, I mean, the 49ers are going to be in this situation. Push come to shove, who are you starting and why? And so if you choose Brock or Trey, then that means you automatically don't like the other one. Or if you criticize one of them, that means you don't like them. Reality of the situation is, bro, I got a video on Grant Cohn's channel in 2021, April of 21 or March of 21, saying, hey, you know, a guy that I really would have liked in this draft, but he didn't come out, was Brock Purdy. You know, we'll see about next year, what have you. So I've been on Brock Purdy for a couple years now. I really thought he could be a good player. And then, you know, as it got a little bit closer, I'm like, hey, you know, he's probably better suited for a long-term backup. But it's not that I don't like Brock Purdy. It's just,
I'm not speaking specifically.
No. And I know you're not saying that, but I gotta give the whole background. And so I love a lot of things about Brock Purdy. Just on a personal level, he's a man of faith. He does have that mentality, that unshakable confidence, which gotta love that. But if I have to choose, I think the Cinderella slipper comes off, and it may not even happen this year, but once you start to strip away some of these all-pro talents that are on this team. I don't think he's eventually the guy that you want to give a giant contract to and say, hey, go win games on your right arm. I don't think he'll ever be that guy. That's just my personal opinion.
That could be. But I think, with this team, and, everybody talks about this win now mentality. I wouldn't discount. I've heard a lot of people discount what like the players say, but let's remember they're at the practice every day with both of those guys. They're in the locker room every day with both of those guys. They've been on the field with both of those guys. I think it's worth listening to them a little bit. I don't think they're pumping Brock up just because he's a nice guy, because Trey's a nice guy too. I think they have the best chance of winning with him. And, if you tell someone like Trent, who's already thinking about retiring, hey, we're gonna see what happens with this other guy and develop him and hope, that number one seed that we keep talking about that's so important. Are we going to risk that this year to develop Trey and then just hope for the best? I think you're right. We'll see what this team looks like in the future when they don't have all these weapons. I think, you seize the moment and you got to go with whoever you think is going to give you the best chance.
Michael, I don't know if you saw the video I put out probably a little over a month ago, but if you haven't, I would say check it out, and it'll give you a full overview of what I think of the quarterback situation. And this was before Brock's surgery, so who knows what's going to happen with it now. But it's a video titled, Brock Purdy is Mr. Right now, but is he Mr. Right? And I think in that video, I really like everything that I could say about this quarterback situation. And I don't want to take your time from you. Anybody that hasn't seen it, I would encourage you, if you just want my opinion on it, if you care, that video would lay it out perfectly. So,
yeah, I did see that one. I thought that was a good video.
And I do. And in that video, one thing I did say, and I'll just say it real quick, is I agree. I mean, I think that they could potentially win a Super Bowl this year. And certainly you're in it to win Super Bowls. So I understand that. But if they don't, for whatever reason, and you've now gone in and said, hey, we're in this win now mentality. You already pissed away 2 years of Trey Lance. Now you do it again for a third year. And if heaven forbid you don't get it done and Brock maybe isn't that guy, I mean, you really just threw away Trey Lance's career as a 49er. I mean, it's over. Like, you're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. So what happens then? You literally wasted all this capital and never even figured out who he is. Now you're going to give him to another team. They're going to figure it out. And if he hits, dude, that is the worst decision-making ever potentially at the quarterback position for one individual situation. That's my fear.
I guess what's worse, though, if he comes in this season and doesn't play well and he has, his trade value is gone, his career is kind of screwed. Which one of those situations is worse?
But do you think that if the 49ers started out slow, which they've done the last 2 years, let's say Trey Lance isn't the guy, and it's very obvious early, like he's just, dude, this guy's not shown no improvement, no progression. There's just nothing here, which I don't think we've seen that from him yet. I know it hasn't maybe been up to snuff of what Purdy's shown, but to act like he hasn't made improvements, I think would be a little bit out of scope. But let's just say he's not it. They play him for 4 games. They make sure that Brock Purdy's healthy. They start 1-3. Do we really think that in the NFC this team can't overcome a 1-3 potential start and make the playoffs still? I think that they could. And then at least you would know a little bit. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, his trade value tanked, but it went from what, a 3rd-round pick to a nothing? Who cares, man? Like, at least you know. At least there's no more questions that you have. And I think four games is not a lot. I still think you wouldn't fully know, but at least you'd have a better idea of what maybe the coaching staff thought going into it. Maybe some of those thoughts or concerns were confirmed enough in those 4 games where it's like, we tried. It's just not going to work. We're going to give it to Purdy and let's go see if we can go. We can win this thing. I mean, they've turned it around twice, and the NFC's weak. They can still make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm kind of along the lines of Larry. I think that Trey really might just be a great player. This might not have been the team for him, given where they were at and the development that he needed, which is unfortunate. for Trey, and could ultimately be unfortunate for the 49ers. So, hey, on Lamar real quick, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I just can't see that happening for one simple reason. Unless we offer some just stupid amount of money, his current team is just going to match it, and the conversation will be over. I don't know that we don't have first-round draft picks. So I think there's a lot of people speculating about that, and it's an interesting conversation, but I just can't see that playing out.
So here's where it becomes realistic. I think I don't think it's likely. So let me make sure that I'm clear about that. I don't think it's likely by any means. However, if there's a team that can make it happen, it would be the 49ers because they have the talent that they could trade away. So hear me out. There is a loophole in this whole thing where the Ravens can do a sign and trade. So if Lamar is just like, listen, I'm not going to be here long term. I hate it here. Cash in on me now. Like, let's figure this thing out. And he says, here's 3 teams I'm willing to go to, whatever 3 teams. And if the 49ers are one of those teams and they're willing to play ball, they got the assets to trade. And it's going to take a lot. I mean, it's not going to be it's going to sting. If you want to get a great player at the premium position in the NFL, it's going to sting. It's going to hurt. And so at that point, that's when you can start adding in players, future first round picks, whatever it takes. And I think there's multiple scenarios that can get it done. And a scenario I threw out a couple weeks ago was Trey Lance, which, they're going to want a future quarterback. So give them Trey Lance. They're probably going to want Bosa. And then they're probably going to want next year's first round pick. Now, if you make that deal, I think it's fair to ask for some things in return, maybe like a 3rd round this year, 3rd round next year, something like that. But that's realistically what it would take. So the 49ers from an asset standpoint makes 100% sense as far as being one of the few teams that could actually make this thing work. From a financial standpoint, it makes sense. From a would Lamar want to come play here, I think it makes sense. Now, where it doesn't make sense is that's a lot to give up. And is Lamar what Kyle Shanahan would want? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if we for sure know what Kyle Shanahan likes and doesn't like, but it seems like he's all over the board. So the likelihood I think is low, but if we just look at the assets and the teams, is it realistic? I think it is.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing, and then I'll let you go, is, and if we could get him, could we keep him on the field? We're mortgaging a lot of assets to get him. And history has shown us that we have a hard time keeping quarterbacks upright. So, we can't think of a player like Lamar as a guaranteed future, around forever, playing, 16 games or whatever, just with our history. And so, anyway, thanks, Jesse. I appreciate you and love your show. And it's great talking to you.
Thanks, man. That was a great call. I appreciate it. I love hearing the other side of things. I think he articulated himself very well. He's on the other side of the fence. There's nothing wrong with that. We disagree, but it's always cordial. See, this is what I don't understand. Red Eye is we keep saying, okay, so you're saying develop Trey by losing games because that will happen during development. Waste another year in the Super Bowl window. Have they wasted any years on Trey Lance in the Super Bowl window? The Super Bowl window since Trey Lance has been here has been open, supposedly, right? We're going into year 3 of this thing being wide open. So did they waste it on Trey Lance or did they waste it on not Trey Lance? So you were okay with them wasting it on Jimmy Garoppolo because Trey wasn't ready, but we're not okay wasting it on Trey because why? That's where I get confused. I think that's where the argument doesn't hold up is it was wasted, but it wasn't wasted on Trey. It was wasted on Jimmy Garoppolo. So we knew who Jimmy Garoppolo was. Anybody with 2 eyes and common sense knew who Jimmy Garoppolo was after 2019. Like, we didn't need to see it again for a 3rd and 4th. You know what it was like? Jimmy Garoppolo playing here was like the Fast and the Furious movies, where it was like, remember the first one? First one was kind of dope, right? Like you were young, at least for me. I was young. I was just getting out of high school. I had a nice, tight little Acura. Went and saw Fast and Furious. I'm like, oh, this movie's sick. Then it was like, okay, the second one comes out. Tokyo Drift was a little weird, but I'm still sticking with it. They put it together in the fourth one, and then it just started. It was awful. But you actually really knew by the second one that it was kind of garbage. That was Jimmy Garoppolo. But I wanted to stick with the series because the first one was so good, man. I really liked the first one. That was the 5 games of Jimmy Garoppolo. Was the first Fast and the Furious movie. The second one, I knew it was bad, but here we are. 9 of these things are out. They're like about to do number 10, and people are still sticking with the series. Like, come on, man. The series is garbage. But we knew that after the second movie. But we still wanted to stick with it because of the nostalgia of the first one. That was Jimmy Garoppolo. We still wanted to, because maybe there's a chance that we can win. Jimmy Garoppolo is the Fast and Furious movie series. That's what he is. What's up, Ryan?
What up, yo?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Real quick, you kind of touched on Lamar Jackson and the sign and trade. I personally don't think that's an option because
why?
He wants guaranteed money. Once you sign somebody and then trade them, all that guaranteed whatever it is comes due. And if he's looking for any sort of a bag, you're talking about okay.
Here's the way around it. Whatever team he goes to is a rework. So all he has to do is sign the tender that's in front of him. It's a 1-year tender. They're going to take a cap hit, but it's not going to be like a massive, massive cap hit. Then the team that he goes to, they rework that deal and figure out what that contract's going to look like long term. So I think that's the way around it.
You could do it twice in 1 year. I thought it was like you could only touch it once a year.
I don't know exactly how that would operate. I mean, he's not technically, he's not signing a long-term contract by accepting a tender. It's a 1-year deal. So worst case scenario, maybe you'd have to wait a year to get it done, I guess. But my understanding is you sign a tender doesn't mean you can't rework a contract.
Okay. That's one.
I could be wrong on that.
Definite. That's one of the places where I'm lacking where this comes. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
I don't think.
Listen, I'm not the cap expert by any means. I know a lot, but I'm not like, hey, I know every little rule in and out. Like that's not my expertise either.
And we wouldn't even see that till after the draft because there's no way they're giving up any player to get a draft capital to turn around and maybe get Lamar with this situation. I also wanted to speak on Red Eye's situation real quick. Who's to say that
he's doubling down though, by the way, the 49ers will finish 7 or 10 or 8 and 9 with Trey Lance. So go ahead.
Who's to say with this defensive line being upgraded as it is so far and the secondary, which I think is actually going to get better. As far as, plug and play pieces, we'll have more, keeping people guessing. But I think we'll have a stronger defense, and we've got Christian McCaffrey. We got all those options on offense. Who's to say that even if Trey throws 1 to 2 interceptions a game, that we can't win games like that? Like, even if you only have Trey drop back on bootlegs,
Garoppolo,
forever. Well, in the playoffs, he could just hand it off and throw the ball down the field 40 yards. Like, if that's how we go, okay, that's our offense. That's fine with me. Throw the ball on 1st and 2nd down when they don't really expect it. And you know what I'm saying? Run the ball every other time. Keep it going. Like, I don't see why the drop off has to be so horrible from everybody else.
Yeah. Like that's exactly it. If this team overcame Jimmy Garoppolo, why could it not overcome Trey Lance as he's developing? Like that just doesn't make any sense. Like Jimmy Garoppolo was a horrible decision maker. The one thing we can say about Trey is he's a good decision maker. He showed that all the way through college. He's shown that here. If you break down the actual film of Trey Lance, he's not making bad decisions. He has a reason for the decisions he's making. Now, maybe he's a tick late on a throw,
or inaccurate,
or he saw it wrong, or he thought he saw it one way. That's learning. But the decision making is not bad. He doesn't make bad decisions. So just based on that, he's not going to be a turnover machine. He's not going to be turning it over twice every single game. Like that's just not going to happen. They can overcome Trey Lance playing mediocre because they did it with Jimmy Garoppolo for however many years.
Facts. And we had less weapons on the team.
Right.
We didn't have a Brandon Ayuk. You know what I mean? We started that season. We got Emmanuel Sanders halfway through. You know what I mean? Debo started popping off halfway through, but we were still undefeated before we had those threats. We were still undefeated that whole time. I want to talk about the O-line. I have all these questions and nothing makes sense. So I hear people talking about moving up to get a right tackle. Okay, last time 49ers picked a right tackle that started was Mike McGlinchey, picked up in the first round. Think we're moving up into the first round? I don't think so. I've heard that it takes about third round picks to move up into the second round. Is Kyle starting a second round right tackle day one in this offense? I don't think so. And if I remember correctly, McGlinchey was like buddy with Joe Staley to figure out the offense for like first ever, and that's the only reason why he had so much success in the beginning. And I believe he's actually attributed his success to Joe Staley.
For sure. Yeah, Joe Staley was a true leader, no doubt about that.
So I don't see us drafting our right tackle starter in this draft. I see us drafting maybe, next year's starter in this draft. I think the starter we have is already on the team. And I think that was kind of solidified by the John Feliciano pick or acquisition. Because I don't think he's coming here to back up or do a Danny Brunskill, swap out Burford type deal. I think he's going to start at right tackle. And he's good because remember Tom Compton? When Tom Compton came in, he ended up starting and playing. But his deal wasn't work like that. It was like you get paid a little amount, and if you start, you get more money. And he ended up starting and doing all that and getting that money, but that wasn't how his contract was wired. This guy's contract's wired like he's playing.
Right.
And
yeah,
something I had a thought is Burford supposedly had fatigue. He couldn't be in there all the time, something like that. I'm wondering if he went from like a 2-point to a 3-point stance and like it was killing his thighs. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't ready for it because it's a lot less on your thighs in a 2-point than in a 3-point. So that was kind of my thought.
That's an interesting observation.
And
it's a very interesting observation.
And if the right tackle's on the team and we don't all think it's McKivitz, you know what I mean? McKivitz is our swing tackle / guard, I feel. And I think Burford's our right tackle. But it still doesn't make sense that you would plan it to work like this. Unless they saw last year, we need a guard, we're making him a guard, and then we'll move him into tackle next year. I don't know.
No, I think that's a good observation. I don't know. I mean, I never played no offensive line, so I would imagine that's the case, but I don't know for sure. But I think it's an interesting observation. And, one thing that you did say, though, early on, which I agree with, is they don't typically play rookies, let alone offensive linemen. However, they did play Burford, and they wanted to get him that development. So was that because he was the best player? I don't know if he was necessarily better than Brunskill. I mean, Brunskill was pretty good. Or was it because they were grooming him to get ready to be that right tackle potentially, and they wanted him to get out there? You know what I mean?
Way to connect the dots for me, Jesse. I'm laying it all out and don't even know I lined it up and
perfect.
It.
You laid it up, man. I just dunked it.
All
right, Ryan. Listen, that was a good call, man. I'm glad you were able to get in.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. You have a wonderful evening, sir.
All right, brother. You too. Taryn says the game that Trey won, he ran the least and threw from the pocket. Yeah, and he looked the best. Like, I don't know. This notion that just Trey's like this inaccurate poo putts and can't put it together is like the wildest thing to me. But sure, man, I guess. I don't listen, we saw Brock Purdy play in like a light sprinkle against Seattle, and it was awful. So imagine like throwing him in a downpour game and being like, hey man, go out there and just, do your thing. He probably wouldn't have looked that good either. So I don't know. And there's like little nuances too to the game that I pay attention to. It's not It's not just about stats and wins. I get those things matter, but is there micro improvements being made? Yes, 100%. Go look at him in the pocket year 1 to year 2. Night and day, completely different player. So I don't get the mentality, but I hear you, Taryn. What's up, Ashaka?
Yo, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fucking immaculate. I was working today. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. If am I not allowed to curse on here?
You're fine, man. You're fine.
Okay, so basically, when I was in that Twitter space earlier, when they were talking about how Trey and stuff, you were there. I
Yeah.
remember, and they were just talking all that mess, and it was making me super excited. That's why I asked you if you're gonna be doing a call-in today, because there's just a bunch of stuff that they were talking about that I just didn't agree with whatsoever. But so first of all, people are talking about how Trey is just not gonna do well. Like, and I think that's just an utter lie. Like, I'm looking at the schedule. Our first 2 games are against Washington and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Has the schedule actually dropped? Am I tripping? I don't think it's actually out yet.
It says
brother.
2023 San Francisco 49ers season schedule on FP schedules.
Now we have the teams, but I don't think the schedule's dropped. Has it? I don't think so.
It doesn't say the dates, but it does say the teams that it would be playing
The
with.
teams, yeah, but we don't necessarily know the order of that's going to go. Well, but it is a possibility, by the way. Were you going to say Philadelphia and Pittsburgh?
So it's going to be Washington, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Cleveland, obviously LA, Philly, Arizona, obviously LA.
Those are the
Seattle,
teams that we're playing, but we
Dallas
don't know the
Cowboys, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then like a few others. But if this is actually in order, those 2 first games in Cardinals are right after. That would be the easiest shit for Trey to actually do. Like, if it's that order, it's the Cardinals, the Steelers, and the Commanders. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that order. And you know what? What I actually do expect. Don't be shocked if they play Philly to start like Thursday night game, which I could see happening. And then they stay on the East Coast and they got to go to Pittsburgh the next week. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
But either way, I think Bashaka, I think your point still remains, because here's one thing that we can't just act like it didn't happen 2 years in a row. Did they not start 3-5 and 4-4 and still pulled it out and were able to make the playoffs and make NFC championship games?
Yeah. And I think
the NFC so strong that they can't start 2-2 and still make it to the playoffs? No, they're going to make the playoffs no matter what.
The NFC is so injury prone compared to the AFC. It's night and day, other than obviously the Chargers.
Yeah.
Poor Chargers fans.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for them.
Yeah.
But also a big difference between the other 2 quarterbacks that we had last year and Trey, as long as we don't run it down the middle between the tackles, he has the best arm out of all 3 of them, like, easily. And I just can't wait to see all the haters just it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. They're just gonna make
I hope it goes that way too, man.
All the
I'm
excuses.
with you.
But this is kind of a side note. I finally got my first 49ers gear. I've been a fan for 15 years, and I finally got something. I'm so excited.
What'd you get? Was it a jersey or what?
I got a hat, and it's a leather snatchback hat, and I really
the leather ones too, like the old school like throwbacks too. Oh, those are slick.
They're really nice. It wasn't even that expensive.
Those are like $100, bro. That's an expensive hat.
Well, I didn't get it for that much.
No, okay. Well, either way, the leather ones are no joke, man.
But I also wanted to bring up something else. They were talking about in that Twitter space that Brock wouldn't be able to come back until like halfway in the season. Is that true? I didn't know for sure.
No. We have no idea, man. It's so what was interesting, if anybody hasn't seen it, There was a really good interview that KP from Niner Nation put together, and it was with Nick Mullins, surgeon, actually. And he kind of just talked through the process. He was very non-committal because he's like, listen, everybody's different. I didn't do the surgery. I'm very good friends with the person that did do the surgery on Brock, but there's no guarantees and what's going to happen. He was confident that Brock would come back at full strength, but he was non-committal on a timeline. But if you listen to what is going to have to happen before he's ready to play, I think it would be a major stretch to say that he's just ready to take the reins week 1. So I don't think that's going to happen per se, but I wouldn't expect half the season. I mean, if anything, they'd probably do like a 4-game, miss the first 4 games type of thing and then come back, off of IR or something like that. But I don't expect it to be a half a season or anything like that. No.
So something that I expect to happen, you might not view this, but like the Niners always do some type of trade during the season, and I know people really like this player, but I think it's gonna happen. Eric
Okay.
Armstead is gonna get traded.
Ooh.
It might not happen, but he gets injured way too much. We have a replacement for him, Javon Hargrave.
Yep.
And like our offense needs it could happen. Like a lot of people probably wouldn't like it.
I could see a player for player swap. I mean, a midseason player for player swap. I don't know what that cap hit would be at that time. I mean, I think it's probably pretty high. All that stuff's going to factor into it, but that would be an interesting trade, man. And you're right. I mean, the 49ers, first of all, they've got their draft picks back. So they are a team that's not afraid to kind of feel things out. And if they like what they see near the trade deadline, they'll go get their guy. I mean, they did it with Emmanuel Sanders. They did it with CMC last year. They've got a whole bookshelf full of picks coming back starting next year. So, I mean, a midseason acquisition might happen. I don't know if it'd necessarily be that one, but I wouldn't be shocked if they do some sort of midseason trade again. That's kind of their MO, really.
Yeah, definitely. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is if they don't like I really do think Javon is might get more of a spotlight, especially especially because like I was a really big proponent of him when he was playing at LSU. Like I really liked him. I still remember seeing that catch in the end zone. It was like a really long, like 70-yard catch. It was just insane. I just hope that they use him more, not as like a third option, but like if we get hurt again, because it's probably going to happen to our receiving core at least like one time this year. I'd love to see Juwan Jennings as like the second receiver in a receiving core. At least for like 1 or 2 games, just because I really like him as a player.
It's third down and Juwan, man. Here's what I'll say about Juwan Jennings. I think he's a good player. Bashaka, thanks for calling in, man. I'm gonna pull you out, but I'm gonna make a comment about Juwan here. You're not gonna like this one, but I think this is his last year with the team. Personally, I think it's it. He's got the 1-year tender deal. They've got Gray up and coming. Don't be shocked if they take another wide receiver in this draft. And I like Juwan Jennings, but I think that third receiver has been very disposable. And so I think that they'll probably move on from him. But I think he's a good player, man. I do like him a lot. He's got a big body. He's always open. Always open. I love that about him. Good hands, dependable. But I think this is probably it's probably his last year at the Niners. So hopefully he does well for sure, gets paid, whatever. 49ers daddy says Jesse was also bummed that E-Man left. Yeah, a little bit. Not the end of the world, but a little bit bummed for sure. Trey's going to ball out this training camp through with all of his weapons and no E-Man out there. Yeah. The offense had an uphill battle in training camp, man. They had an uphill battle. I mean, all that talent on defense. Debo wasn't there. Then when he came back, he was out of shape. Kittle was in and out. Trent Williams was in and out. It was rough. Yeah. Yep. Gammon. Yes. Similar to when they moved on from Bourne. All right. I'm going to get my guy Niner Sickness on here. What's up, Beto?
What's up, Jesse? Thank you for having me on your show, boy.
He's got the voice changer. That's sick. Nice,
You better
man. How you
believe
doing?
it, boy. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? I just wanted to come on and say hi, man. I've been watching your shows, watching you do your thing, grinding, doing your thing, brother. I don't get the chance to come on very often, but I do watch it, like the replays. But I saw you went on at this time. I'm like, the wife has left me alone. The kids are gone. So I'm like, you know what? Perfect time to jump on and say hello and visit your call-in show.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, man, for calling in. Yeah, I mean, I think a couple weeks ago you'd hopped in, but you're like, oh, I don't have time to wait. I got a show. So I'm glad you were able to hang around. I know it was quite a long wait, brother, for sure. What do you got going on over at your channel? How are things going on over there, man?
It's doing good, man. I I'm not I do it for the fun of it. I just
I
do
know
it for
you
the
do.
hobby. I'm not competing with no one. So I'm like, I just love doing what I do and I love to talk. My wife says I talk too much to her, so she's like, go and talk on the internet. So that's what I do. I'm happy, I have on Thursdays I have a all network. It's called the 49ers podcast network, where all different content creators come on and we kind of have like a round table and we just talk 49er every Thursday. And then my favorite show is Saturday nights when I do a trivia night, 49er trivia, and I give
Yeah,
out.
I've jumped in on some of those just to see how I do. But yeah, those are tough, man. You got some good questions rolling on over
I
there.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just for the fun of it. I just enjoy doing, and I love my Niners. Been a Niner fan since '78, so I've been following a long time, and and just watching and supporting a lot of content creators. What I mean, I wanted to show some love to you. I know you're a very busy man, but I know a lot of people been talking about the Trey Lance and the Brock Purdy, and um it kind of hurts my heart, breaks my heart a little bit, with a lot of Niner fans are so divided on a situation where it's like, I tell people this, I wear the, oh, you can't see me, but, oh, you can see me, but I wear
I
the
can see.
emblem on my hand and it's SF tattooed. It's not a certain player. I love individual players. I love to support them. I like them to see them succeed. But at the end of the day, it's the logo that I put on me. But um, people are not giving a fair chance to Trey, and that's so disappointing that people right away want to dismiss him. It's like you see a little shiny spot, and people want to tend to look that way. Brock Purdy did come on. Brock Purdy did do very well. I was impressed with his presence on the field, the way he was able. He looked almost like a pro 7-year vet out there at times, but he has limitations as well, and sooner or later those limitations will be tapped into. And the things that Trey can do, man, it's just the sky's the limit. It's just he hasn't had playing time, and I loved him in college. I wanted the Niners to draft him. I was kind of mad at the Niners when they kept Jimmy that first year of Trey. They should have just thrown Trey out there, let him learn. And then the second year, it's a bummer that he got to start and he lost his job. Not lost his job, but got hurt and wasn't able to finish the year. And I'm with you. The last 2 years we have started 2-4 and 3-5, and we made it both years to the NFC Championship game. Give Trey a chance, but of course I don't know Kyle, but what I see of Kyle now that he has a taste of Brock, and if Brock is healthy to go, do you think that Kyle will have the patience with Trey and allow him to make mistakes, lose games, and still stick with him? Or do you think during that time, especially if Trey is struggling and Brock is ready to go, do you think Kyle will be a moron and put him in there and just switch at that point? Or do you think that he will stick with Trey?
Yeah, I think it all depends, man. There's so many scenarios that could play out. Like they could start out bad, but Trey's playing really good. They could start out good and Trey's playing really bad. There's like so many different like angles to go with this thing. But based on the scenario that you gave, which is, Trey's not doing the best and they're starting out slow. Yeah, I think you would probably pull the plug. I mean, Kyle seems pretty impatient. I think, what's interesting is I think that Kyle loved the idea of Trey Lance. You know, he looked at Josh Allen, he looked at Patrick Mahomes, was like, all right, I can go get my guy. I'm going to sit him on the bench for a year. I'm going to get him with my quarterback coaches in the offseason. And he's just going to turn into this fantastic quarterback. He's got all the same traits as those guys that I love. And then once he didn't immediately turn into that guy, he's like, well, I liked the end result, what I thought the end result would be, but I don't want to deal with any of this other stuff. Like, I didn't expect this. Like, I'm cool. So it's like he fell in love with the idea, but he didn't fall in love with the hard work. And I'll liken it to what we do, man. You know, I think people see success or they see a YouTube channel and they're like, man, I can do that. Like, Jesse's up there, Beto's up there. I can talk just like those guys. And you're probably right. But what you don't understand, and you love the idea of like, okay, I can go on YouTube, I can grow this channel, I can get paid. But what you're not thinking about is all the months or years where you're getting nothing.
Yep.
And you're trying to figure out like what works on YouTube. It's not just the shows is the easy part. This is easy. This is the easy part. Coming up with a title, a thumbnail, topics, guests, editing, all that's where the work comes in. So it's like people love the idea of the end result, but they don't necessarily love the idea of all the other stuff that comes with it. The ish talking from people that you don't even know that hate your guts because of a take. They don't think about any of that. They just look at, oh man, I can do what he's doing. Let me get up there and talk. And that's what I think Shanahan did with Trey Lance, was like, I love the end result. I love Josh Allen. I love Patrick Mahomes. I'll go get me a guy with all those same skill sets and he'll just turn into him. And that's not the way it worked. He didn't think about all the work that was going to go into it. And he doesn't like that part of it.
Yeah, you're right. And the fact that Brock Purdy just came in and kind of just started playing really well, to your point, that's what Shanahan likes. Someone to come in and command his offense right away. And, you know, and it's sad that he won't develop the quarterback, because I really want to see Trey Lance under Brian Greasy, because people can hate Jimmy all they want, but Jimmy had his limitations. I don't understand the hate for Jimmy. I was ready to move on, been ready to move on because of the limitations, but the hate for him is real, and I just don't understand. Guy's a classy guy, kept quiet, he stays off of social media, doesn't engage in anything, and people would still hate it. And I'm like, but you know, Jimmy's gone, Trey's here. I hope that Trey gets the opportunity to play and show us why they drafted him. But I do tell people all the time that it doesn't matter if you're a third round pick or third overall pick. It doesn't matter if they gave up 3 or 4 first rounds. If a 7th round wins over the coach would dismiss that first round pick or third round pick easily. It's like, what can you do for me today? Can you win me games? That's what Shanahan wants to do. So, and I heard you earlier talking to one of your callers about if they do go with Brock, they could waste up Trey's opportunity. And the thing that I would hate to see, and I think you would too, is imagine if he doesn't work out here, they let him go, and he thrives with another team and starts winning Super Bowls there. And we're sitting there, you know, here like with a thumb in our mouth, like, you know what I mean? And I feel bad. I tell people all the time, I wish he would have never got hurt last year, because that was the year for him to mess up, because there was no Brock Purdy at that point. He was on the team, but nobody knew about Brock Purdy. Not even the Niners knew somewhat. They liked him, but they didn't know he was going to play as the way he played coming in. So I think last year would have been the opportunity for him to mess up Trey. And you know, where now that they know what Brock can do and they can win with Brock, now that leash just got shortened for Trey. Now Trey doesn't have those opportunities to grow, hard pains to learn. And that's going to be disappointing with this offense with Kyle Shanahan, because he didn't know what he had. And people are like, well, they had Jimmy G behind Trey. They didn't want Jimmy G. They were ready to move on from Jimmy G. They would allow Trey to struggle. But now that they got a taste of Brock and what Brock can do, I just believe that the patience for Trey are not there. And if Trey doesn't come in and blow everybody out of the water in training camp and in the first couple of games, I feel bad for Trey, but I think he will be dismissed. Before I go, bro, I just wanted to ask you your thought on the defensive line addition of Javon Hargrave. I love this kid. I loved him last year playing for Philly. A lot of my podcasts, I'd always say, man, I can only imagine if we had, and I used to use him as, as a thought, like, imagine having Hargrave next to Bosa, how beautiful that would be. I would never imagine that was actually going to be a possibility. So I was stoked when we got him. I know a lot of people are hard on Eric. I'm a big fan of Eric Armstead. I know a lot of people kind of want to get rid of him. He doesn't do much. I think he does a lot in the trenches. If you look at his film, it doesn't come out in stats. It doesn't come out in the sacks, but he does do a lot. He pushes that line. But if you remember in 2019, when Buckner was there and Bosa, that was one of the Eric Armstead's best year because he was able to just take the one-on-ones and just roam free. People were focusing on Bosa and DeForest Buckner. And I think with the addition of Hargrave, I think both Armstead is going to wake up again and start getting those sacks because between him and Jackson, they're going to be taking one-on-ones. Hargrave and Bosa are going to take the double teams. So what is your thought to that addition? Do you think this guy can come in and this defensive line can look much different in 23 than it did in 22, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah, it definitely can, man. I mean, one thing that we saw with Armstead is once the talent amped up around him, he started getting home. And you're right. I mean, he doesn't have any sacks, and a lot of people look at that, but he pushes the pocket. I mean, he's a pocket mover, and people get sacks because of what Eric Armstead does up the middle. He gets near the quarterback, he flusters them, pushes them into another player. And so, yeah, he's not going to get credit for that sack, but he's a big reason why a lot of those sacks happen. I think Eric Armstead's a good player. Now, unfortunately for him, high draft pick, not as good as Buckner, and then he gets paid a lot. And so people are like, Eric Armstead. A lot of people really kind of overestimate their thoughts on him and underestimate how good he is because of those things. But Eric Armstead's a good player, and I do foresee his sack numbers going up. Javon Hargrave or Javon Hargrave, however you want to say it, he's a hell of a player, man. He's a good player, and really the contract is a very good contract if you see how it's broken down. So I think the 49ers hit a home run with that one. I want to end on this, though, going back to what you were saying about, Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. Let's remove Brock Purdy from the equation for a second.
Okay.
My biggest issue isn't that people, because I understand it. I truly understand it. I know you're a man of faith, right, Betos? Yes. And I am as well. So I always liken it to this. And whatever your faith is, whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, just stick with me for a second, okay? I'm not going to get preachy on you, but I want to make a point here. Walking by faith and believing in a higher power, whatever that is, takes 100% faith in that entity, because you don't see it, you don't touch it, you don't feel it. People have experiences with God when they get close or whatever, but you're not visually touching it and seeing it. You're walking literally by faith. So it's easy for a lot of people not to believe in a higher power because they can't see it. I mean, who's to say it's real? I understand the argument. That same thing happens with sports. You saw Brock Purdy, just like you saw Jimmy Garoppolo, come out and win games. You're like, well, I'm watching this guy win games. I don't know what Trey Lance is. Sure, you say he's all these things, but I haven't seen it. So, I can't believe something I haven't seen. What I can believe, what is tangible, is that Brock Purdy's won games and they put up points. That's all I need to see. So believing in Trey Lance is a much harder thing to do because you haven't necessarily seen it. So I understand why people would go the Brock Purdy route and not the Trey Lance route. Here's what I don't understand. These same people have seen guys like Sam Darnold. You physically have seen that Sam Darnold is not a good player. He's a horrible decision maker. You've seen all of these things, but you have the gall to say, that guy, you would rather see that guy play than Trey Lance? Like, that's where I don't understand. That's where I'm at on the conversation. I think there's a certain point where the hate has gone way too far. Sam Darnold and Jimmy Garoppolo were that point for me. Like, if you said don't play Trey Lance because we gotta try to win now because Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm out. Like, I don't believe that because I never thought Jimmy was that guy. We've seen Jimmy. We've seen Sam Darnold. So if you're saying, hey, I mean, he might beat out Trey and we might want to see, I mean, it's not his fault. He played for Adam Gate. Look, no, Sam Darnold is not that guy either. You've seen it with your eyes. So at least be willing to give Trey Lance a chance if Brock Purdy's not healthy. I understand wanting to go with Purdy because you've seen it. It's these other guys that I don't understand. That's where I think the hate has gone too far. And that's where I draw the line. So what do you think of that?
To your point, I just want to reference the faith thing. Yes, I am a man of God, and I'm always preaching every time I get a chance. But you got to believe something. Listen, when I was paralyzed, and I think you already know about that in my story, when I was paralyzed for 10 years and I couldn't walk, I was told by doctors that your spine is severed, it's separated. And to this day, it's still separated. He goes, you're never going to walk. There's no healing for your spine. You're not going to walk. And I remember my wife's uncle came up to me and gave me a word and says that God spoke to him and told him that he was going to raise me up from that wheelchair and get me to walking again. And I was like, I had to hold on to that faith. Now, he told me this in year 3 of me being paralyzed. I did not start walking until year 10. So there was a 7-year gap that what he said did not make sense. He said, like, you're going to walk again. Now, year 3 comes around, year 4 comes around, not walking. Year 5, not walking. But I still had to hold on to that faith because I believed in God. First and foremost, I believe in that he would heal me. Trey believes in himself. He knows he can do it. He knows that he can, who he is as a player. And you got to believe it. Like my brother, he's not a believing man. He's science. So he's like, he does his research, and his research said, your type of injury, little brother, says here that nobody has ever walked on that type of injury. This is stats that he's coming with. And I said, I don't care about that. I'm going to prove you and every doubter wrong. I believe in my God, and he will stand. Well, it's been, 10, 11 years now that I've been walking on my own. And my brother's like, I guess those stats were wrong. And so people can believe what they want to believe. They can hate on Trey, say Trey's not it. Trey knows who he is. Trey knows his ability. There's a reason why he was drafted in the third overall. The reason why they move up to get him. And I think Trey, and I pray that Trey would get his opportunity. And I think if he doesn't do well, it's not because of his ability. It's going to be because Kyle's not going to give him the proper opportunity to truly showcase who he is as a player. And that's unfortunate. So I just wanted to agree with you on that. You got to have faith, believe in what you don't see as if it's happening. You got to see it until you believe it in your heart. It'll manifest through your eyes. And I believe Trey. Don't get me wrong. I love Brock. I talk highly of Brock. I'm excited about Brock, but I'm not giving up on Trey whatsoever. Trey hasn't had a fair shake. Show me 5 or 6 games of him just being really inaccurate, overthrowing, not maneuvering well. And then I'm like, okay, I'm moving on. Let's go with Brock. But I'm not going to move on to Brock just because, Brock excited you. What happens if Brock gets well and plays like crap? I'm not wishing on that on Brock, but I just want to see Trey. Trey is that Josh Allen. And if I'm not mistaken, when he came out of was it Buffalo, Wyoming? I believe
Wyoming, yeah,
Wyoming. He struggled his first year. You know that a lot of Bill fans wanted to cut him his first year.
Beto, I got a story for you on Josh Allen. So when Josh Allen was coming out of that draft, I was 1,000% in on him. In fact, I got a podcast that I posted. I used to have just an audio podcast then.
Okay.
And my guy, Rad, who I used to run this channel with, he was a big Baker Mayfield guy. And I was like, listen, I think Baker's going to be out of the league in 5 years. Now, I wasn't right about that, but I was right about not being in on Baker. And I said, Josh Allen's the clear number one quarterback in this draft. He's like, no, he's not accurate enough. Look at his completion percentage and all these other things. So fast forward to him getting drafted by Buffalo. So I played on a flag football team. My quarterback was a semi-pro quarterback, Buffalo Bills fan. And we used to, for 2 years before Josh Allen showed out, he's like, this guy sucks. Get him off my team. I play the position. I've played it for years. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, give it time, man. Josh Allen's going to be a G. Like everything that you're looking for, he's going to have. Give him time. Bro, he went from being, 56, 57% completion in college to having a year where he completed 69% passes. That's insane, man. That jump is insane. Now, I know that he's come back to the pack, sitting closer to that 63% or whatever, but even that is a massive leap. So if you think that a guy can come from Wyoming, right? People are like, oh, it's NDSU. What has anybody ever done? Came from Wyoming. Couldn't even sniff 60% completion percentage. And now he's in the NFL and he's consistently well over that 60%. Come on, man. It can be done. And I'm not saying that Trey is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a unicorn. If I look at them coming out of college, I love Trey, but I would have had Josh Allen higher. I totally understand that. But to act as if Trey Lance can't be that, knowing that every quarterback who has been successful in this league tests very high on the cognitive test. Trey Lance has that check mark. Then he has all the physical stuff. The only thing he doesn't have is the playing time. So to think that it just can't happen when he has all the skill sets that he needs to succeed in this league, man, I think that's very short-sighted. I do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Jesse. Hopefully he'll get his opportunity. I'm not going to take more of your time. I want to appreciate you for having me on, man. I want to try to do this more often. Hey, just want to let you know I'm praying for you, brother, praying for your family. I truly see you you're being successful in this, and I'm rooting for you, man. Keep grinding, keep growing. I'm not going to lie, man. When I see people grow, that makes me happy. I know I enjoy seeing people thrive, because to me this is a hobby. To you, you're putting work into it, and but when I see you thrive, or other content creators, even if I don't always agree with everybody's take, but I can appreciate the effort they're putting into what they're doing. And I do that because I'm a content creator myself. And you're right, the editing, the finding the guest, scheduling everything in timely manner, it's not easy. And you're right, everybody wants to be somebody, or they see somebody like, oh, I want to be the president, or I want to be this, but they don't want to pay the price to get there. I want to be 180 pounds by tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. I got to put the work if I want to get there. You got muscles, but people that lift weights, people are like, man, this guy's stoked. Well, you don't see him every day in the gym. People are like, oh, that girl is just a beautiful body. But you don't see her lifting weights and sweating in that gym every day to get there. You got to put in the work. You got to put in. So with that, I'll leave you. Let's have Trey put in the work. Hopefully, let's pray that Kyle will resist putting Brock right away. Allow Brock to heal even better, and just give Trey that opportunity. And hopefully he plans out, because if Trey takes off the way I think he is, oh my goodness. Josh Allen we know what he is today. I know you're not comparing him to Josh Allen, but back then, we didn't know what he was going to be. But some people believed in him. He believed in himself. And today it's manifested. And about 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be like looking back and like, man, I am glad that we kept Trey. And all those doubters are going to be quiet, because they're going to be like, what can they say? So I leave you with that. Thank you for having me on, brother. God bless you. God bless all your viewers that support you. Continue to support Jesse. You are the most humble person that I know, brother. And everybody loves you, man. You are loved in the community, whether they agree with your content or not. But as a person, you are loved, man. So keep up what you're doing. I have mad respect for you, my friend.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I'm
that
always
was a great
praying
call.
for you, supporting you, brother, in the background.
Thank you, bro. Thank you,
All
Beto.
Right? Good night. Oh,
you too, man. Beto's a good guy, man. He So a story about him real quick. He we kind of came across each other like after I had lost that first channel. So a lot of people don't don't know like the full story necessarily. You haven't maybe been with me from the beginning, but I had a channel started in February of 21, lost it in October of 21. It was like at 3,000 subs or right there. And it was like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, whatever. Decided to restart the channel. That's kind of when he and I crossed paths a little bit. And he just, yeah, he's like, listen, like, he's like, I feel it. He's like, I feel it. He's like, you're gonna explode, man. You're gonna do good things in this community. I'm like, all right, man, sure, that's cool. Like, whatever. He's like, I'm gonna pray for you. You're gonna do good things. I would have never imagined that this channel would have ever hit 10,000. I would have never imagined that I would have the support that I do. None of that stuff. So he was right, man. He was right. And even when I didn't necessarily believe, man, he believed in it. So shout out to him for sure. Shout out to him. And he's just such a good dude. And I don't know. I mean, I know that you're like talking ish and doing whatever, but he feels, bro. I don't know if you heard his story. This man has a severed spine, was told he would never walk again. He believed that he would walk again 10 years after he severed his spine, which x-rays still show he's walking. So that's a little bit more than a feeling, right? Like, I know you got your jokes, but like, come on, bro. You also said, why do people pretend that Trey doesn't have the opportunity? Everyone wants that. This is so corny. He got injured for a full season and is QB1. What is this? I mean, is he QB1? For sure. If Purdy's healthy, is he QB1? Did he start year one? Like, I don't know. He never got his chance. You know what I mean? But sure. I mean, he definitely got his chance last year and he got injured. It was unfortunate for sure. I agree with that. It's not like as if he got no chance, right? As if that's what you're saying. I can agree with that, but come on, man. Knock the other stuff out though, for sure. Little bit over the top, man. A little bit over the top. Yeah. Lost channel. Yep. For sure, man. For sure. So anyways, I'm going to be back tomorrow night with Larry Krueger on his channel. So go check him out. And I think I'm going to be dropping some stuff over here too this week, and we'll see what happens. But appreciate y'all. God bless. Thank y'all so much for the support. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a great night, and we'll talk soon. Peace.